There's not a single issue in the Absolute universe crazier than the newest Absolute Batman. Let's break it down. We have never seen Bruce Wayne tested like this before in any piece of Batman media ever. Not physically, not emotionally, not in any way, shape, or form. And before we get started, make sure to drop a like, comment, and maybe even share this video with somebody, because honestly, not witnessing such a peak issue like this should be considered a crime. With that being said, go grab some food for this video. You're probably gonna need it. So if you guys can't recall, the last issue consisted of Bruce finding and breaking into Arc M to find his best friend Waylon, which actually turned out to be a giant underground city-like facility. But upon putting boots on the ground and trying to figure out what was going down at this place, his investigation was put to a stop after being confronted by Bane, who not only defeated him without using any effort, but eventually used his venom to transform into a giant hulking beast before picking up Bruce's body like a ragdoll and expressing that it was time for surgery. And you'll see later in this issue, he was not joking about the surgery part. Anyways, initially our story picks up in June with Martha expressing how worried she was to Jim Gordon because Bruce had been missing for the last few days. And although Jim tried assuring her that everything was going to be okay, Martha's connection to her son was incredibly strong because she could literally feel that something was wrong. Hey, that kind of rhymed. After that, the story picks up right where we left off with the aftermath of Bane's overwhelming victory. And it's here that we see Bruce isolated in a private prison cell, naked and practically unconscious, while being monitored by a nearby doctor in a secret room. And this doctor takes note of practically every little thing Bruce does throughout the entire issue. But as he laid on the floor, still somewhat sedated, the doctor states that Bruce was so heavy that one of the 6 staff members that it took to carry him to the operating table received a devastating back injury. But they'd soon find out that that was just the beginning of the many road bumps they'd run into, because not only did they have to confiscate a total of 14 hidden weapons from him during the removal of his batsuit, but a plethora of homemade booby traps were triggered that caused even more injuries. Anyways, shortly after that, despite the doctor predicting he'd be unconscious for another 48 hours, Bruce lifted himself off the ground and used a secret pin lodged inside of his mouth to pick the lock on the door to his cell. And it's here that Bruce gets a much clearer idea of how terrible this place was, because while aimlessly running throughout the facility looking for a way to escape, he ran past a human experiment where somebody's body was being modified inside of a giant egg-like pod. And then I'm pretty sure we got our first introduction to Absolute Clayface, because when the doctor finally realized that he wasn't in his cell, she indicated that he was possibly en route to a place called the Clay Biome, which Bruce would soon find out was a bunch of mangled up bodies molded together, expressing that they were experiencing unbearable amounts of pain. Soon enough, Bruce realized he was in trouble though, as all the bodies collectively started latching onto him, completely restricting him from moving, until none other than Bane arrived onto the scene, battering him with so much power that he instantly went unconscious. After that, the story jumps an entire month into the future, where Martha was now more worried than ever, desperately begging Harvey to look further into Bruce's disappearance. But Harvey claimed that the DA office was already doing everything they could to find him. Meanwhile,